All right, so first, I think I need to have, I need to call the meeting to order, right? Yep. All right, so let's call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Anderson. Radcliffe.
Here.
Sauger.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Stricker. Leone.
Here. So before we begin, I need a motion.
We should just make note that
Kathleen
is serving as Garrett's.
Not a voting member, so I was going to call her a quorum.
Correct.
But hello, Kathleen.
Hello, Kathleen Tracy.
And then I need a motion to allow those who are online to participate, or to, yeah. So we have a motion from Brian, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the ayes have it. All right, Nick, you're legal now.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, everyone.
All right, next up is minutes.
So moved.
Second.
The minutes.
Okay. All right, I keep forgetting which is for roll call, which is not.
When you spend money, it's roll call, otherwise
Thank you,
it's
all
voice.
right, good rules. All right, all in favor of the minutes, or the approval of the minutes?
Aye.
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 All right. Public comments? No, all right, move on, new business.
All right, new business. I did not create an entire sheet for this just because the only new business as far as businesses coming into the enterprise zone is Greenway Storage and Rental. They started about a week and a half ago, or at least made contact. We're processing their project application at the moment. That's going to be a $2,000 project fee. It's a very, very large project. I think they have $400,000 worth of building materials on that, so that'll be pretty significant. It's a good start. And then the second order of business under new business being the ADM tax abatement. So just to fill everybody in, I sent Lou an email about a week or two ago where we had a question as to whether Archer Daniels Midland, who had bought Petdyne in Harvard, whether they had gotten the tax abatements that come with the enterprise zone. The reason being is they're not supposed to, they're not eligible because it's also in a TIF district. So they're precluded by that. So I met with Alejandro from the assessor's office earlier this week just to make sure. He said that they had not received those abatements, and you know, we're good to go. There's no money owed to the state, there's no money owed to us, so there's no problem. Going on to the larger project here, we have the fiscal year 25 budget.
Well, before we go on, anybody have any questions about Greenway or ADM? No? Okay. All right, now we'll move on to the financial reporting.
So we have our fiscal year 25 budget, which will be at the top of your packet with a big blue streak through it. I have made a decent amount of changes from where we were in the past. Starting with partner contributions, those are staying the same, so there's no change there. Project fees are at $19,250 for the year is what we're estimating. This is a decrease on the fiscal year 24 budget because that was listed at $32,083.33. The reason for that was the project fees that came with that Petdyne project. They're essentially an outlier. I mean, that was a massive project compared to what usually occurs in the enterprise zone. So we don't really anticipate that that's going to be, you know, something that's going to come in like that. It's entirely possible, but we're budgeting for, you know, just under $20,000 in project fees. And the reason being is that I use the average and what I anticipated based on any additional advertising or activity that wasn't put forth in the enterprise zone previously to reach that number. So if there's any questions on those, feel free before I move on.
I'm going to interrupt. Looks like Mark joined the meeting remotely as well.
Hey, Mark.
I did see that meeting.
Should we just,
I think you need another motion to allow him into the meeting.
Yeah, do I have a motion to allow Mark into the meeting? I got a motion.
Second.
Got a second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Welcome to the meeting, Mark.
I appreciate it, certainly.
All right. So we also had, let's see, the actual project fees, I just wanted to note for the fiscal year 24 budget, are going to come out to $20,000 and $20,025. It was listed in our most recent financials as about 10,800 something, but there is $9,200 of outstanding project fees for the last fiscal year that haven't been collected yet. So we're gonna collect those, and you know, that's how we get up to $20,025 for fiscal year 24. Moving forward, grants. We budgeted for $6,875 in grants. In the previous fiscal year, there was actually $0 in actual income for that. You know, unless anything changes, we don't really anticipate, you know, it really depends on what we're able to apply for. So, you know, we've budgeted nothing in that instance, but, you know, we shouldn't worry, and obviously we can amend that going forward if an opportunity arises. Expenses. So previously we had been paying Charlie, and he was a direct employee of the enterprise zone. As of December 31st, he is obviously no longer an employee of the enterprise zone, and we no longer have employees directly, right? So what I've done is I've switched what was wages and payroll, and I've merged that with contractual services, and that line item will cover the entire contract between the enterprise zone and MCEDC. So instead of, you know, just paying directly, that money will just be part of that contract, which it pays us indirectly to provide those services. I have noted, obviously, that the new budget is 19.8% higher than the previous combined budget for those two line items, but 11.6% lower than what was actually spent. And then on top of that, let's see, having our previous fiscal year having spent 135.8% of what was budgeted for, we actually come in at a lot lower. So if that amount had ended up being just 100%, it would have been $50,875 that would have been spent in the previous fiscal year. So we are more in tune with that, but lower than the actual expense. Obviously, as part-time wages, they had budgeted for about $4,500 in part-time wages. We don't anticipate having any of those. Again, you know, we do have other people that will be essentially working part-time, but that will be a different line item that I'll explain further on. FICA, SUDA, and FUTA, as we do not have any direct employees, we don't have to worry about those going forward. So I've completely wiped those out. As for accounting, so we do have that as a new line item, and it's only listed at $1,125. The reason being is that we do plan on eventually ending our, you know, service agreement or you know, receiving services from MCEZ. That requires a 30-day cancellation notification. At this point, obviously, since we've been going through the finances and trying to get everything, you know, realigned from where it was with Charlie, we have not, you know, put in for that 30 days. So we're still budgeting for that extra month of services. Before I go on, do we have any questions on any of these at all?
Can we go back up to the top, outstanding fees? The project fees that you said are outstanding are forthcoming, and I just want to make sure that we're not putting ourselves into kind of a false sense of security, I guess, in terms of project fees if those are outstanding and they are not yet collected. So you feel very confident that those will be able to be collected and,
I mean, they are owed. They are owed as part of their benefit, or as part of their application and their benefits that they receive from the enterprise zone. That's part of the deal. So
Right.
that, you know, if, I don't know exactly how we would go about it if they tried to refuse, but they are liable to pay.
It would be a reminder to them that it is part of the process and it could jeopardize their enterprise benefit or easy benefits moving forward.
Okay.
the other thing I just want to, again, come back to is that we're comfortable though with this figure of just under $20,000, $19,250 in terms of budgeting for this coming year, knowing full well that we've been, you know, in arrears basically in collection for this past year. Everything is, you feel comfortable with that we're going to generate that amount of money?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And the reason being for that is advertising and promotion efforts that have not been, you know, haven't really been attacked in the past, especially in the way that we plan on doing so in the future. So.
Okay, I think that's good justification. I appreciate that. Grants. We just don't have anybody to, you know, go out for grants, seek grants, oversight grants. Why is that kind of something that we haven't really had in the past?
So having prior conversations with Charlie, he basically had said, you know, oh, there's never really been anything, you know, specific to enterprise zones. And I don't know if it has to exactly be specific to the enterprise zone. There may be things that can be benefits, just as, you know, the body, whatever it happens to be. But he never really applied for any in the past. We had budgeted for them the past 2 years, but there was never any that came in. So I didn't want to go ahead and say, hey, you know, we're going to budget for them if we don't know, you know, what the opportunities are. So
that makes sense, but I also think that we should be a little bit aggressive and see what we can do in that regard. So I think that needs to be somewhat of a priority for administrative oversight. If we don't really have any wages, administrative services, I think we should change that line item to contractual services instead of listing it as wages. I think that, and that's just my opinion.
No, and that's what we would do in any other budget. So you can strike wages, part-time wages, employer, FICA, SUDA, FUTA, and just put in contract.
So all the rest of it's good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
cool. Where was I? All right.
That was a resolution, 5.1, to approve that budget.
Mm-hmm.
So is that?
Well, we're not done.
Yeah,
We're not talking about it still. Okay.
Right, yeah. We also have dues and subscriptions. Again, there were $0 in actual expenses for that in the past. We had budgeted $916.67 for it. I have it listed as 1,000, just as you know, just to round up. And you know, this is just in case there is any sort of, you know, publication out there that, you know, maybe Charlie didn't know about in the past, or you know, I've been looking a lot into enterprise zones, obviously, since we started doing this, and there are some you know, publications and whatnot. I haven't checked any pricing on things. A lot of them just seem to be email lists, but I just figured, you know, just in case there is any sort of reference or anything that we might want to look at going forward, we'll have something available. And then seminars and conferences, we decreased this, and actually we decreased this to about $0. And the reason being is that at this point, being the sole everyday employee at MCEDC and the sole everyday employee for the enterprise zone, figured that I can't see there being a situation where, you know, I'm going to be ending up out of town to go to a conference at this point. I do know that we are in the process of finding our next executive director for MCEDC, and I assume once that happens that this will be subject to change. Mike, is there anything you want to touch on that point, or explain anything about where we are at that process? Or
Well, you got it later on the agenda, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Advertising and promotion, obviously we just rounded that one up. There was only $862 in actual expenses last year. We anticipate doing a lot more. You know, if you drove around, you could drive through the entire enterprise zone, and I'm not saying like we're gonna put up signs or anything, but a lot of people that live in it don't know that it's there. A lot of businesses that are, you know, doing business in it don't know that it's there. We need to make people a lot more aware of this. So I figure, you know, at that level, it just gives us a lot of leeway on whatever we want to, what we want to do and however we want to approach that. Again, also subject to change. I know that we had come to an agreement earlier is that was coming out of a separate pool of money, I do believe, but any sort of advertising was going to be brought obviously to the board first before we, you know, spent any of those funds.
So this is advertising and promotion above and beyond what the member units are doing themselves, correct?
Yes, yes, and I believe though it is based on the meeting that Ed had held with each of the municipalities together, we were going to approach this as the municipalities themselves were kind of just going to, you know, create whatever sort of campaign that they wanted to do or however you wanted to market it, and then, you know, we're okay with that. I mean, you know your municipality a lot better than anybody else, so a lot of that would just essentially be rubber stamping whatever they want to do, whatever they felt pertinent. So that leads us to insurance expense. So we had $916.67 budgeted for in fiscal year 24, but $0 in the actual expense. This is something that MCEDC is just absorbing. And so that will be, I guess, part of the contractual services. Printing, we didn't really know. There was, you know, $0 in actual expenses, $275 were budgeted for. For the most part, we weren't really worried about what that was. You know, if we're printing documents, we can print our own documents. We're not worried about it. And if it happens to be something where, you know, we're going to FedEx or something or having something professionally printed, to me, that's going to be out of the advertising and promotion budget, most likely. So, phone expense. All right, so I've completely removed the phone expense from here. The reason being is that I have had it since October 3rd. I have received 0 calls on it. It's, you know, it's just kind of sitting there. It's always charged, but nobody calls, nobody really pays attention to it. It is, as it says, we had $380 that we spent on it last year. I don't see a reason to, you know, just to continue that contract.
In your promotion, it's okay if I talk here on this one, that your promotion's gonna have a telephone number on it or a contact?
Yeah, my personal, myself.
Okay, so that's good
Yeah.
enough? Okay.
Yeah, and that's the easiest way to reach me, so, you know, I'm not worried about that. That phone expense is part of the county's larger, I guess, contract with Verizon. So that is just, you know, that's a conversation I've had with the purchaser's office already. We haven't said that we wanted to do it yet, but obviously I wanted to, you know, seek approval for that first. So if everybody is okay with that. Okay.
That's a question real quick. So why wouldn't you use the MCEDC's phone number as the contact instead of the cell phone?
Well, I mean, they can call the office phone, obviously, but I'm not always going to be in the office.
You could always forward to your phone though, yeah?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, we've had a problem where, as it's currently set up, to where every single number that we had was just an extension on the same line. And with those office phones, if you try to forward it, you're forwarding, you know, 4 different phones to one cell phone. That is not technically something that those office phones can do. So we're looking at fixing that, obviously, especially with the new executive director coming in. We've already gotten rid of 2 of the phones from 2 other employees that we had. That leaves us just with 2 phones on 1 line. I have asked IT in our building already to put us on different lines. So it will be something we can do going forward, but at the moment, it's not available. All right, software and support. All right, so we moved this, we completely removed this, and that's just because it seems that the only software that was being paid for was the QuickBooks Online version. Obviously, there is still information on that we want to remove, but we have our own license for QuickBooks with MCEDC, and with us bringing the accounting and other financial services within MCEDC itself, we won't want to have, duplicates. There's no reason to be paying for 2 licenses. So obviously we're going to get all the information off what's currently already there, and then obviously we want to remove that. If there's any objections to that or any thoughts on that. Okay. Internet had been budgeted for, but there were 0 expenses on it. I believe in the past that this was for Charlie to be able to work from home. So we don't need to worry about that. We've got internet in our building. Bank service charge, I just left it at 50. I figured there was a decent reason for it to be at, where it was. Anything can happen. So, why not leave it? Not really a rationale there, but office supplies, again, that's something that we're not really worried about. MCEDC has its own office supplies. We can make do with what we have. Same thing for office equipment. We're not planning on buying printers or anything. So, postage and shipping, again, that's something else that MCEDC can do in-house. So we don't need to, take any funds out of that. That can just come straight out of the contract. Mileage reimbursements, we cut that in half. It was our understanding after speaking with Charlie the initial time on October 3rd that he went to a fair amount of conferences. We do not anticipate that at this time, obviously, as mentioned before. So we decided, we're going to cut that in half. The actual expenses for last year were only, $1,350. So, I figured 3,000 is not too bad, but we don't have to go as far as what was budgeted before. I don't see us again, driving all too far, and it's not nearly that expensive to drive, from Crystal Lake to Harvard or Marengo or wherever and back. So we're not too worried about it. Meeting expenses.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're good. All right. Meeting expenses, we went down to $0, and this obviously, in my understanding, and the reason I put this in here was essentially a placeholder. I don't know exactly what the new executive director is going to want to do as far as his approach to the enterprise zone, what his priorities or her, whoever it may happen to be, what their priorities are going to be as far as that. Obviously, this is a lot more related to if you were going to a conference or some sort of expo. And again, like I said, for the foreseeable future at least, I cannot see that being something that I will be able to do.
So if I could, why would you have air expense there, 1,200 with no lodging or meals? That doesn't quite make sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, so let me see.
I mean, I can understand that we're kind of in a holding pattern to some extent here.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be a degree of flexibility, and we're working towards the context of stability, which I grant and understand all that, but if we're trying to be realistic in that type of thing, I don't quite understand that.
Yeah, so my only other reasoning for that would be just in case, and it really depends on obviously the size of the project. I kind of just had the thought that if there was some sort of large, company or whatnot that was interested, that there is the potential to have to send somebody out to wherever they're at. It really depends on who it is or what it is. But I just wanted to have that available in case there was some sort of, hey, can you, fly out to Detroit or wherever the hell to meet with us? And
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah.
So you don't think there'll be lodging though and meals associated with it? Or you think the company would host you in that regard, or what are your thoughts?
I mean, just going off of previous experience, I've seen obviously where people have flown out and then flown back the same
I
day
see.
for quick meetings. That was what I was considering there. So,
Well, how about this? Without doing a drastic change to the budget, you mentioned before mileage reimbursement, we were like 1,300 roughly.
yeah.
How about we take 1,000 off the mileage reimbursement and put it over into lodging,
Yeah, we can do that.
just in case?
Mhm.
And then this way we haven't made a drastic change to the budget.
Okay. Okay, taxi and Uber, we had $413.18 in actual expenses of that, which was only 64% of what was budgeted for. For me, this is essentially if anybody ends up taking the train downtown and, has, too many blocks to walk and not enough time. So, I don't see any other instances where it may be, applicable, but I anticipated that it would be around there. And also because of the premium times that Uber is now charging through the city of Chicago, or they're trying to align it with what business is still there. So I anticipate that whatever meetings these would cover would also have those increased expenses or costs from Uber. Parking and tolls, same situation. I thought that $1,800 was kind of excessive. But again, say in this instance, somebody was driving downtown, had somewhere they had to go after. It's not cheap to park in the city. And you really don't know how frequently you're going to be down there. So, last year, obviously we had 245 in actual expenses. But the goal here is increased activity. So, I figure there is potential for more of these meetings to occur. And then finally, in-zone events. This kind of very likely goes alongside marketing, but is, in my understanding, based off what we've talked about in the past, more on educational related things. So, businesses that are looking to use the benefits of the enterprise zone, mostly businesses that are already in it. If they want to expand, then, a lot of them don't know where they are, essentially. They don't know about the enterprise zone, or, they don't know if they're in it or not. And I figured a lot of this could be educational as to, we can teach them exactly what it is, what the benefits are, and then how the process works. And I don't know, this could take the form of a town hall, whatever it may happen to be. But I think there's a decent amount of businesses that are already in the enterprise zone, that we wouldn't want, moving forward, spending more money than they have to on an expansion or anything. I don't anticipate it being the exact same as the marketing, because the marketing is obviously more outward directed. This is directed to, in-house. We already have, whatever establishment that we've got that's sitting in the zone. So I left that at $500 just to give a sizable enough budget for that. All right, any questions, comments, criticisms, suggestions?
Okay. On the insurance part, you talked about the enterprise or the economic development taking over the insurance, but I guess I don't understand how that protects this particular entity, and especially when it comes to the board of directors liability insurance. I mean, would we be like also named on a liability insurance policy, or I'm not an insurance guy, and that, so.
Yeah, well, so my plan for that was to just put that in the contract, right? We could have that agreement so that it just shifts the burden to MCEDC instead of the enterprise zone itself.
I understand that, and that's probably fine, but because we have a contract that says the burden's on you, doesn't mean the insurance company's gonna honor or protect us in any way unless our name is on it, somehow, or I don't exactly know how that needs to be done. But there needs to be some way that we're identified.
Right, yeah, so.
And not just between us, I mean, with your insurance company.
Just a question though, is that, I mean, you're appointed by the county. I'm appointed by the city of Woodstock. So wouldn't, by virtue of you being covered as a county elected, wouldn't that work? Or I'm a city appointed?
Yeah, it may.
Wouldn't that set of insurance cover that, just like any other work that you do for the county?
Yeah, and it may do that. I guess my concern would be if somebody sued the enterprise zone, how does it go to get to their insurance?
So you're not concerned about your actions then for liability, or you having personal liability, but you're more concerned about the liability of MCEDC?
Both. But I think you've got a good point about that I would be covered because of the county. But would the enterprise zone be covered as a whole? You got something, Alicia?
Yeah, well, I think what you're trying to say is you're concerned about the enterprise zone as an entity.
Yes.
And you want to make sure that the entity is covered, say, you know, if for whatever reason, you know, James in his duties, but he is a contractor, not an employee. I don't know what the legal liability piece is there. So again, it would probably be a question for the council for the enterprise zone, if that would be able to be put in or not, or if it would even be something to apply, but I don't think we have council.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess, but it seems like there should be something there that ties us to their insurance if we're going to be used, if we're not going to have any insurance or liability insurance. I guess I agree with Brian. I'm probably covered by being appointed from the county. So then it goes to the entity.
The organization.
Yeah, and I've been working on that, you know, the contract between the enterprise zone and MCEDC, and actually earlier this week sent it to a employee at Saladin's law firm to review. So I can obviously also bring this question up with him, you know, get some actual, you know, legal advice from their office on how they see that and what we might have to work into that contract to make sure that works out correctly. So.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, the language might actually be where they mention the enterprise zone into the plan, but then they say, and the following additional insurance. And then they just list the board and all the names of the board, just to have it covered.
Yeah.
Okay. Good question. Yes.
Maybe Larry had something else.
Nope.
I think it's incredibly generous that the MCEDC has said, okay, don't worry about this, 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 and this, and you kind of check those off, and I think that's great. I want to make sure that the MCEDC board is positively supportive of that on one hand, and are we planning on tracking any of that expense, and do we need to do that so that you all know that, okay, we can't keep doing this because X, Y, and Z are happening?
So as far as that is, I do not have a current breakdown from the entire amount that is contracted to MCEDC for. There are, I don't know exactly how to put this. This might be a better question for either Peter Scala as far as how the MCEDC board sees, you know, how the board sees the contract and how all of that is being spent.
Well, I would say, just listening, the two are becoming intertwined as one through this budget process. And structurally, I don't know if that's what is wanted. You know, I don't necessarily think the EDC board would necessarily have a problem with it, but you're also making it very difficult to separate going forward. And I don't know if the autonomy of the two needs to keep separated or not. And I think that's more of a structural issue that you guys have to decide if that's what you want.
I think that's my concern, because right now, MCEDC is a contractor for this enterprise zone. And if you just want to say the flat contract, including all of these additional support services is included, and you put that in the contract, that's fine. But if you also want to cover yourself just a little bit more and say, okay, for additional services, including X, Y, and Z, we're going to charge this much more, or a portion of what is here as the contractual service obligation. I think there needs to be something in documents that say that.
Yeah, yeah. Because right now, I think you're strictly looking at a budget.
Right.
But the budget is your budget, of which EDC is just a contractor for.
Right.
Which, again, semantics, but is the EDC responsible for your budget? Which, in this particular situation, as it's being presented, it almost sounds like they are. Again, is that what y'all want? I don't know.
Yes.
Well, when we had the big meeting with the guy from Springfield, I think it was presented by most people involved that is wanted it to be separate at that time, and not just be like all of a sudden merged into the EDC.
Right.
So, whatever we need to do on that end, I think we should follow that suggestion.
Yeah, and my understanding was there would be obviously a separate accounting of those funds. They wouldn't be, just thrown into, an MCEDC bank account or anything like that. Obviously, there is a bank account for the enterprise zone. But yeah, my understanding was that there had to be an accounting of every single dollar that came through from the contract as well, separate from our actual traditional bookkeeping.
But I think it goes more to a structural standpoint than just a dollar and cent standpoint.
I agree. I think that we need to have either a statement in the contractual agreement that exists about these additional services, whether that is the insurance expense or the printing expense or whatever. I think that we need to have a statement about that in the contracts, or in the budget here, we need to have it separated so that we're still paying for that at whatever amount the board, MCEDC board would agree to. But we have that in this document as even a budget line item. So I think we've got to take the approach of one or the other in my mind.
Well, technically, if EDC was, the MCEDC was a contractor providing services, it wouldn't even be in your budget. It would be, this is the services that we are providing for you for this set amount. It would be in our budgetary numbers, it'd be our own budgetary for that, but for your budget, it wouldn't even be in there. You wouldn't see it. It'd just be a contracted line.
Yeah, it would be part of our total contract here, but in our understanding, then we would have that separated out. And I don't disagree. I mean, I think it's correct.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I like your first option where it clearly states in the contract these additional fees. Okay.
Yeah. But then that wouldn't be in your budget then.
Right.
No,
It would just be a separate.
But it still kind of keeps us as two separate entities.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And I agree. I mean, I think that that's the cleanest way to go about it. We just have it specified in the contractual services agreement that it includes X, Y, and Z. And I think we need to be a little bit more explicit about what it is, X, Y, and Z.
Right, so essentially then just an additional breakdown of what those administrative services entail and everything else that we have folded into it.
But then that would be taken out of the budget that you're
And that's
presenting.
fine. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, moving on, if we're ready to move on, is everybody? Any more questions, comments, anything?
Are you guys going to approve the budget, and are you going to make the amendment regarding the 1K in lodging out of the mileage reimbursement?
Yeah, and so that's what I was.
Sorry about that.
No. That's where I was gonna jump to. So do I have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution with the stated amendments?
I don't think you should.
No?
I don't think I think you gotta revise this budget based on the discussion you just had, because to me, the agreement goes along with the budget.
And I agree with that too. I think we're getting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
So, yeah, and if there was gonna be amendment with that change, then these other things that have been zeroed out should be removed.
Right.
So it's gonna be a bigger amendment.
So you want to table the resolution until the next meeting?
Postpone it.
Your budget though for this year expires April 30th.
But we're government, we don't have to have a budget.
However you want to be.
It's okay if they're, because they still have a contract with MCEDC, who's the administrator, so whether they have a budget in place or not is not critical.
And we haven't really spent anything as far as, past couple of months at least, so, outside of, just paying for the Chezion services.
But for, just so that we're not falling too far behind, let's have a meeting. You think you can get this next month?
Oh, yeah.
Your attorney review's coming
Soon.
next day or so, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I could potentially bring obviously that and the changes with the contract as well.
This way we can get everything
agree.
done and
Make it clean.
early in the budget, or the fiscal year. Okay. All right, so we'll be tabling the resolution
Postponing till
to the.
what time? What date?
That's a good question. What's everyone, you think 2 weeks?
I'm cool with that.
Be about the May 10th?
As long as I can participate remotely. You good?
I don't know, we may not vote on it. So, all right, let's push it. Nick, how's May 10th look for you?
Let me check real quick.
And Mark, can you do the same?
Got my calendar.
Yeah, the 10th looks fine for me.
Okay,
Yeah, May 10th looks good.
okay, so we'll be setting the next meeting for May 10th, 10 a.m., same time, same back channel.
And you're tabling the motion until.
Postponing to the next meeting.
Your time specific, please.
Okay.
Then we move on to our March financials.
You gotta do it, someone's gotta do a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, do we?
Right, because we're postponing,
Oh, that's right.
well, tabling it, so, all right.
Not table.
Sorry. I'm new at this still.
I know.
I'm used to just watching the meetings.
Postponing the time specific of Friday, the May 10th at 10 o'clock. That's a motion.
Second?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It sounds like the ayes have it. All right, so that's gonna be postponed to the May 10th meeting. All right, March financials?
All right, March financials. There is not much of a change here. Obviously, there will be coming soon, as I brought a couple of checks that we need to just pay at Chezion for. I've gotten past 2 invoices. Obviously, if you look in the total accounts receivable, you will see, and especially on the third page, which has those lined out, exactly who we will be collecting those other project fees from, and the amounts. So that's what we're looking forward to. And obviously, those don't contribute to this budget, but they are still collectibles. So those go in fiscal year '24. Other than that, you'll see essentially everything that I mentioned earlier, talking about the budget in, in relationship to the one that we had created for fiscal year '25. These are the latest financials we've gotten. The other ones will come usually the first week of the new month. So we will be getting the April ones the first week of this coming month. I don't know if that has been sent out or if those have just been presented in person. If you guys want me to, forward those via email when I receive them, then, by all means I can do that, just to keep everybody on the same page of exactly what's going on. But, other than that, everything here is just a reflection of what we've already mentioned in relation to the new budget. So we don't really have any changes except for the fact that payroll and wages dropped off when Charlie, completed his work. So
why these ones that are the fees are greater than 90 days? Are they still working on their projects, or are the projects done and up and running?
So the projects should either be complete, or I believe Liberator Auto Works is still continuing on theirs. But regardless, they still have to make those payments. So it's a condition of receiving the benefits from the enterprise zone.
Okay, but if their project's done, have they bought the material, received the tax break?
If their project's done, then yes, they have,
So
and they've already received that, but they are still on the hook for these payments, so.
Yeah, but they've already had the advantage of using it, but we don't have their money, and it's longer than 90 days. It's the longer a debt goes, the harder it is to collect, is the saying. So,
yeah,
I mean, you'd like to think these are good intentioned business owners, but somehow, like, we need to, they don't have any encouragement to pay us if they don't have any benefits coming, if they've already used them, they've already received them.
I do believe going forward with the abatement schedule for any of the abatements they would receive on their taxes going forward, that is something that could potentially be the stick there, as to whether or not they receive those. And that's obviously something I can have a conversation with Alejandro with the assessor's office. But since those are spread out over the coming years, it could be conditioned on the paperwork sent to the state of Illinois that they get these into to us, and we will ensure that they have those abatements going forward.
I guess I don't know the legal part of that. Somehow you're saying they don't get their tax abatement because the state of Illinois is going to say, hey, you still owe the enterprise zone money?
No, I mean, but with the paperwork that is provided from the enterprise zone to the state of Illinois regarding the abatements.
Okay. So we could say, hey, we're not going to provide the paperwork unless you get up.
Yeah, I mean, it's, when you send in your application, this was one of the conditions of, receiving the benefits was paying these project fees.
And who's going to assume responsibility then for sending that notification out?
I can do it, yeah. Might as well. I'm the only person.
You're the only person doing it
here, so, so yeah, I mean.
Glad you volunteered.
Yeah, I mean, I'll absolutely do it, and I know, I've had prior contact with some of these companies as well, just through MCEDC, so, we might not even have to go that far, so we could just, obviously.
Just call them up, maybe.
Approach, yeah, just, hey, you got these benefits.
Do a friendly call first, and then letter notifying.
And absolutely, blame it on your board, blame it on us.
Do you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem with that.
I would say the board says.
I agree. Put it on us.
Yeah, you don't have to take it.
I'm sorry, Brian, what was your comment?
I agree with Larry 100%. We just need to put it on our shoulders. You didn't have to take the heat for that to say the board is saying, hey, this has to be done.
Yeah, and I don't know if there have been any, prior collection attempts either. So I figured I'd also, give Charlie a call and find out. Most of these projects started when he was still in charge. So just to see if, where they left off, so. And also, other stick, just for going further, is if their project is not entirely completed, we can rescind their building materials exemption certifications. Worst case scenario, obviously, it's not something, we don't want to really coerce people, but if it, if they get to a belligerent stance over this, then.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
Let's hope for the good part. You'll get a hold of them and they'll say, oh, yeah, actually, it's in the mail.
All right, financial process update. All right, so.
Do we need I need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion?
Resolution to approve the March
Okay.
financials, 5.2.
Got a motion? Second? All right. This one should be a roll call because it's financial, so, right?
Yep.
All right.
Smith,
Yes.
Sauter,
Yes.
Radcliffe,
Yes.
Stricker,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes. All right.
All right.
Financial process update?
Yeah, so financial process, this is the process of MCEDC getting all the financials into a state that is, something that'll work for us. Charlie had a very, having things done, at least from my perspective. So we are obviously planning on removing Echezian / Eater Casella from the picture at some point. Obviously, we need to give them that 30-day notice that I mentioned before. We're going to be bringing those services in-house. We have our own person who handles MCEDC's finances. She is the financial director for another organization in McHenry County as well, and she is a financial advisor to two others. She handles our bookkeeping and our invoicing and everything else, so we're not worried about that. And she's actually got a long-standing personal and professional relationship with Sheridan at Echezian, who currently handles our accounts. That can't hurt. So we have, this week we contacted Associated Bank to put my name on the account and to make sure that they stopped sending the mail to Glenda Miller's office. The mail obviously had been coming here. There wasn't a notification system really before, so we're gonna have that mail sent to MCEDC instead. And obviously, instead of having to request our invoices and the checks that come with them from Echezian, we just want to have those on hand so that we can make that process a lot smoother and quicker. So that is what we plan on doing with that. Obviously, Lou got me on the bank account at Associated as of yesterday, and I spoke to Carl Abramson this morning, just sort of as his introduction into how things are going to be moving forward. So we are all good in that regard. Any questions? Any opposition? There we go.
Your name's on the bank account now?
Yes.
And then, was it Lou?
Myself and Nick.
And Nick, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I am currently actually on that. I am listed obviously as an interim, and whoever becomes the executive director at MCEDC will become the full-time signature on that account.
So we'll have to do it again.
Okay, that leads us to partner reports.
Do we want a resolution for the financial process update since it's 5.3? I'd make a motion to pass that.
Second.
It's there, so.
All right, roll call?
Sauter,
Yes.
Radcliffe, Nick, Stricker,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Nick, Radcliffe,
You might be having technical difficulties.
Lou, Leone.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right, partner reports.
All right, partner reports is municipalities, yes?
Yes. So I'll go ahead and go first. Right now, there's not a lot to report as far as the city of Harvard, although we are experiencing some more growth in housing. I think we're on pace to be over 50 homes permitted to be built. To put that in better perspective, let's see, from prior to my arrival, we had averaged 1 home a year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of growth, and we've got another developer, so that makes 3 right now that are putting up homes, and we're in the process of updating our UDO.
I'm sorry, did I hear that right? You had 50 permits this year alone?
Sorry, over the last 17 months, so 18 months.
Okay, second, my goodness.
Yeah, so prior to that, though, it was 1 a year.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then hopefully Dunkin' Donuts will be opening their doors here soon. And then we've just got Starbucks submitted their final plans, so we'll be getting a Starbucks.
That'll make the people happy.
Thought it was a Dunkin'.
What's that?
Thought it was Dunkin'.
Well, no, Dunkin', there's a Dunkin' that's already being built and Starbucks hasn't been built yet.
I live in Harvard.
Then you'll have choices.
All right.
And there's always the Mug Coffee House there on Front Street, which is very good. I enjoy going there. So that's it for Harvard.
What's that?
Well, we're happy to report that the Food Shed Co-op is planning to have their grand opening on May 15th, partially in thanks to the Enterprise Zone. So that's the most exciting news related to Enterprise Zone. Tidal Wave Car Wash opened.
Free washes.
Is it still free?
I don't know, it was as of yesterday at 3 o'clock.
Eventually they're gonna stop doing that. Yeah, but other than that, I don't have anything to report.
Well, we did have a major, I mean, it's not part of the enterprise zone, but major Lennar Riverwoods was approved
Oh, yeah.
Right.
within the city of Woodstock. So that's a large residential development that's coming in.
Actually, I do have something. So the other thing is, when Motorola was put up, they had ComEd, run out lines and so on out there. I'm working with Sanoski, Severson, and U.S. Medical Glove with with ComEd as well to get all that power restored. Somewhere along the lines over the last 20 years, everything was ripped right back out. And now they want to charge again. So, yeah. So that's going to be interesting.
I know you said you had the housing. Did you guys ever,
Yeah, I made the note that I got to talk to Donovan so we can get going on getting the residential, whatever form it's going to be, into the enterprise zone benefits.
Yeah.
Not fully forgotten.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's something, Alicia and I sit on the Workforce Housing Board for the county. And, we have a white paper that we're putting together for Bueller. And, it's something that hasn't really been touched on too much is, people don't, I would say at least, most of the people obviously are focusing just on real estate itself. But that enterprise zone aspect being a potential asset for at least Harvard and Marengo going forward. I know Woodstock said that the school district wasn't gonna bite on that, but.
Well, we expect a housing boom now that backyard chickens is allowed.
Open the floodgates.
Are allowed?
They are allowed.
Light came out of
It
it.
took us 8 months to go through all that. Yeah.
So you're the expert on chicken policies if I need somebody?
That's,
Yeah, we've been passing little chicken, like Care Bear or teddy bears and stuff like that around. Yeah, having a little fun with that.
it's a slippery slope.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and then just as far as with the city, we're just updating all of our code books. We're in May, we'll be up to the 2021 building codes. Yeah, just going through and just updating. It's been, I have said often, Harvard's been kind of sleepy for a while, and we're waking up and getting things up to par.
Cool. Nick, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Perfect. What's new with Marengo?
Business as usual. A lot of our time's been taken up with the DCEO grant. So we've been going out to bid, trying to bid out the projects. These are long projects, 12, 18-month projects. Costs are coming in a little higher than we were thinking that they would come in. So the city of Marengo has some big decisions to make. We might need to get additional funding from the state. So that's for more to come over the next couple weeks. We'll have to tackle that. Nothing on the enterprise zone related items, but in the city in general, we have Brown Bear Daycare. They're continuing to build out. They have their walls up, so that's going really well. Some other small commercial developments are ongoing. And then residentially, I think MI Homes, they're probably a quarter of the way done with their 95 home development. So that's moving forward really well. We have several townhome developments that are ongoing. And then yes, Harvard, great job with the chicken ordinance. So we tried passing that too, and it got denied sadly. So I was a little jealous about that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say lastly, the last really cool thing going on in Marengo is that we did start our comprehensive plan with House of Levine. So we're having our big joint committee kickoff meeting on Monday at 5. That'll be with the planning and zoning and the city council. So it'll be a 12-month project, but it's gonna be super exciting for Marengo to go through that process.
Nice.
Is there any progress on getting a second member for the enterprise zone board from Marengo?
So at this point, I think Mayor Koziel is just going to step back into that role until we get some more additional staff over here. Probably similar to other communities, we're having some staffing issues and finding elected officials. All of my elected officials work full time. We have one that's retired, so that's really difficult to get them. I've requested the chamber to maybe be a member or a business member, so I'm still working on that. But Mayor Koziel will step in until we fill that void.
So Nick, are you in the big chair there?
As of right now, I'm the interim. That was effective March 4th. And I guess if I do a good job over the next couple months, they'll keep me on full time. They have no need or want to search or go out for a new city administrator. So we'll see how that works out. I'm happy to be in that position. I think I'll do a great job.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congrats. Well, if you need anything, just let me know.
Of course, Lou. I appreciate that.
All right. Mark, do you have anything to add? Okay. All right, let's move on to administrator's report.
Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is the IDES unemployment fraud situation. This might be new news to some people, it might be old news to some people, depending on what Charlie has explained in the past. When I first met with Charlie about the enterprise zone, he explained to me, which was October 3rd of this past year, that there had been some fraudulent unemployment claims of people claiming that they were employees of the enterprise zone. We received a bill from IDES for around $4,000 stating that this was for money that they hoped to recover from the enterprise zone that had been paid out on behalf of them believing that the enterprise zone had employed this person. As Charlie had told me, he's been the only employee of the enterprise zone up until we took over. Outside of that, I know he had some contracted work, but again, they weren't employees of the enterprise zone. So I did contact Echezion, and these claims were from 2022. I did contact them. They sent me all the documents that prove that Charlie was the only employee and that this other person obviously was not an employee of the enterprise zone. And so our goal now is to file a protest, which I have it from other MCEDC board members that have had similar experiences of claims like this, that if you have the protest, then you can obviously send in the documents and prove it, that they will not be charging the enterprise zone. We will not be liable to make the payments. There was also an additional option that went with that, and that was whether or not we wanted to seek criminal charges against whoever this person was. So I figured obviously I would bring that to the board and see what their understanding of that was. Or, take the temperature, so to speak. I mean, do we want to pursue that, or?
Why wouldn't the unemployment department pursue it?
Right.
I don't understand the legal ins and outs of it, but it shouldn't be wouldn't think it'd be our decision. If we don't have any liability, especially if we don't have any liability.
So what'll probably happen is if we were billed the 4,000 and paid it out, then it would be a fraud charge, and we would have to seek legal counsel on that. But since we haven't actually been harmed, and the protest goes through successfully, then I don't think we have much of a claim either way. In that sense. So
Yeah.
let's file the protest and go from there.
Did you guys receive, because usually when someone files for unemployment, you get a notice from the state stating that, and then you have 30 days, well, it's not even 30 days, usually by the time you get it, it's 15 days to protest it. So was that done?
I mean, when I made the first call after I saw that bill, when that bill came to me, they had said that those were from 2022. I have not seen anywhere in any of the documents that Charlie gave me, which was a, 2 bankers boxes full of, folders. I have not seen any sort of notice from them dating back that far. So, but they did not say when I was on the phone with them that I could not protest it now. So.
And I've been here since January 23, and this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah.
But if they're allowing the window to protest, then let's get that done.
I only learned of the ability to protest. They actually gave me the option. So if it was past a certain date, I don't think they would have advised me to do so. But we can obviously check in on it. Executive Director search update, if you wanted to give any sort of...
Yeah, so the MCEDC appointed a committee for hiring a new executive director. We went through and changed all the bylaws to remove it as a president position and rename it and classify it as an executive director position. We then went out and opened up a portal for people to apply. We had, I think, somewhere around 15 people apply for the position. The committee then went through all the resumes. We asked several people to come and do an in-person interview in front of the committee. Through that, we then decided to move people forward to the full board for a second interview, which will then be happening at our next board meeting. And then subsequently, the full board will make decisions as to whether to accept or reject candidates, and then try and negotiate with a chosen candidate if the board so desires for the executive director position. So we're hoping to have that theoretically wrapped up by the middle of the month. if the board decides to negotiate with any of the candidates.
May 14th is your next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? All right, thanks for the update.
All right, then just going back, obviously, our next item is the contract and, the contribution. Like I said earlier, I've written out and revised about 5 or 6 times since the start of February, the contract between the enterprise zone and MCEDC. Obviously, we are having Jonathan Kamen at Saladin's law firm review that and, make any revisions that need to be made to make that applicable. It is all done based off of what the Illinois Enterprise Zone Act allows, and then any other local regulations. So we're playing it by the regulations instead of just drawing it up. And then obviously we plan to bring that with the amendments that we want to make to the budget and the contract as well. I will send that information to him today so that doesn't get delayed any further as we're trying to meet again on the 10th. So if there are any things that you have in particular, such as like Lou, you guys have the the housing that you guys are trying to get passed and put through. I know it's not entirely directly relevant to us, but is there anything that we need to do as far as MCEDC, separately doing business with all the municipalities, as it relates to the contract? I don't see it as a conflict of interest, so to speak, because we are the administrator of the zone, and we were chosen as the administrator of the zone. But is there any sort of guardrail that we want to put in there, or anything just to delineate the difference between MCEDC providing an enterprise zone service as to MCEDC. For example, if we got asked to do some work to help a business that is in the enterprise zone, but asked as MCEDC as opposed to as the enterprise zone.
Anything?
I don't think there's anything special there, because I think we've all crossed the T's and dotted the I's in terms of the contractual agreement, as it were. Everybody knows the direction we're heading, and I don't think it's an issue.
All right, cool.
Mark? Or sorry, Nick, do you have anything? See Mark dropped off.
No, nothing on my end.
All right, thanks, Nick. All right, I don't have anything. Oh, go ahead.
I don't have anything regarding that, but when we went through the budget, there were several things that, like the insurance, printing, and telephone, that you were going to put in the contract that MCEDC is going to be responsible for?
Yeah.
Are we clear on that exactly? I mean, is it going to say in the contract that MCEs, that you're going to be responsible for the grants? I mean, are we doing everything that we zero budgeted in here? It's going to be set to a responsibility for you guys?
Yes.
And is that the plan? So if it's grants, it's going to say they're responsible for grants. If it's accounting, insurance, printing, telephone, software, internet, office supplies, office equipment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Is that what we're clear on doing then?
I think so, and then it'll come back for our review.
Well, just trying to get it
Right,
so we
and
don't
I
have
agree.
to delay another one.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
And you had something?
Well, I just want to say, so the board itself is looking at this as a document to kind of get us through a year. Because without anything in place originally, we feel it's responsible to put something in place. But naturally, after we see how it goes and we see what everything kind of plays out, then making recommendations. So I don't want to say making it a living document, but in essence, really kind of being able to change it going forward based on actuals and what reality really is. But we want to get something in place just so that there is an agreement initially, but really kind of review it both on the MCEDC side and then as your side to make it better you know, moving forward.
Right.
I agree, Mike, I mean, there's a lot of gray matter in this budget. It's gonna need some.
Well, I mean, just even the document, not even the budget. But yes, both, yeah, correct.
Okay,
Yeah, because the original was supposed to be for a year, the agreement, and then figured it was just gonna be whatever changes from both sides would be worked out at about that time. So,
okay.
Yeah, and I think obviously there will be more clarity to that once we have, you know, our new executive director and, you know, obviously they're sitting in the same seat that I'm sitting in, when they're, brought on board and, whatever they have to contribute or however they want to, you know, approach that. I'm sure there will be some changes, but, yeah. All right,
Chairman, could I interrupt for a minute?
sure.
I know Mr. Scala is on a schedule this morning. Did you get in what you wanted to get in this one? Or do you have other things?
No, I was just here to answer questions,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I'm supposed to be in Upper Wisconsin at noon, so I'm gonna be a little late, but, don't tell the police, but we'll see how fast we can get up there. Do you guys have any other questions for me before I go?
No, thanks.
No? Okay.
Thanks.
Do you need me for anything? No? Call.
I won't.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
New documents?
yeah, so new documents, all right, Lou has already seen one of these. That would be the enterprise zone guideline sheet, from when we met at the start of March with Garrett and Mike Scala. This document, the enterprise zone guidelines, are essentially just all the things that MCEDC will be doing as part of the contract. It is obviously subject to review and it's going to be expanded based on what's in the contract, but I also figured that there should be a handbook that is, you know, written not in legalese, so that everybody understands exactly what it is that MCEDC is doing in whatever situation that, you know, may arise. This version is as of, I want to say, March 8th, as we met on March 7th, and there were a couple edits that we made to that. Obviously, some things will be removed when we get rid of the phone. We will no longer have any of those, you know, so to speak. But I intend for it to play as a handbook for MCEDC, so I can help get the new executive director, you know, up to where we're at as well, and what our responsibilities are. And then when the final copy of the contract is, you know, signed, sealed, and delivered, what I'm gonna do is take everything that is written in that in its legal sense and, you know, essentially make the enterprise zone contract for dummies. So for what MCEDC's gotta do, and, you know, what I wanna include some of our processes in here and how we're gonna approach certain situations just as we go through them. So, you know, this can be a document where any sort of information comes in from, you know, the contract, from recommendations from, you know, anybody on this board, whatever, you know, if there's any best practices based on experiences. Every enterprise zone is run differently. So I want this to just be specific to ours and what we have to do. So, you know, if there's any, you know, preferred way, for example, if there's ever any further fraud claims, we take how we decided to approach it and, you know, we put that in there for posterity, I guess.
I appreciate having the fact that you did do all this work, because I think that it was necessary, and you know, let's just put it out there. I think that there was a need for that. It hadn't been really perfected, I guess I would say, in the past, and so I do appreciate the fact that you've done this. And it took some effort, so thank you.
Absolutely. Our next document, let me see here, should be the enterprise zone application. We currently have the old enterprise zone application on our website. It's good, it's not great. There's obviously more information that we can get about these projects, especially for, you know, posting these on the Department of Revenue website when we are, you know, opening these projects up. So this is essentially the same document. It's, you know, given a new face, but it also has a lot more information requested on what this project is, so we can actually get a breakdown we're living in the age of big data, so there's a lot of this that we're gonna actually wanna, visualize. We can come up with, reports on what the actual economic benefits to the area based on the zone were, with some of this information that we, didn't ask for before. So I wanted to bring this to you guys because I want to replace the other application on the website with this one. I felt it would be better, and it would give us at least the opportunity going forward if we, were to adopt any analytic tools or anything.
Is this a fillable form?
Yes.
Online?
Well, I can't say that I'm familiar with the old form, but if you're the one working with these people and you think this is the new form, that's good. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, there is also another form on here, which is just the qualifying materials. I get a decent amount of calls from people who have opened their projects where, they're kind of splitting hairs on, is this does this qualify for exemption or not for the project? So this, it should look like this. This is literally just going through what is eligible and what is not eligible for exemption. I just wanted to put it in plain English, cut down on the amount of phone calls where I had to, explain to people, things they should know. Obviously, I want to make sure that they have the opportunity to know that in easy, so I want to put this, I'm essentially, considering having just an extra page added on to the website for all these resources, just my project center or something like that. So everybody can kind of, find their own way based on the documents online, and we can spend more time doing and less time explaining. I did have a question about that as well. Currently, you'll see a lot of MCEDC branding on these documents. Our logo is on all of them. If you see at the top of the exemption sheet, I do have Harvard, Woodstock, and Marengo's. Just for guidance on putting out any documents going further, I know we don't have any sort of specific branding for the enterprise zone at the moment. Would you just like me to put, all three logos for the municipalities we have, and, just kind of, play it like that until we decide to brand? Or
I know I made at some point a MCEZ logo, using the actual shared brand, the EDC, the county, and naturally, and just had enterprise zone underneath it. I mean, you guys want to join the shared brand, that could be something you do.
Can you share that with everybody?
Sure, I can do that.
So we can, yeah. I do appreciate you having City of Harbor's newest logo.
yeah, oh, absolutely.
Same with Woodstock.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so let's see. Materials, project form. Just another document that I have. Project closing form. Typically, we get either a phone call and or an email, some of them to Charlie still, because Charlie was their point of contact when they started, and it's not, you aren't checking in too long with these companies. It's essentially, you make sure they get their paperwork and they make sure they get it in. So the project closing form is more so a way of just for us to know exactly when they completed everything. Will the applications and the certificates that they receive for their exemptions usually just run till December 31st of the following year. Yeah.
Which one is the closing form?
Look at this, the short one.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the project closing form is, again, just so that we know when this project is done, as opposed to just defaulting to, hey, the end of the year or the end of, whenever, 2 years, depending on when they started. And then, it's signed, sealed, and delivered, and we'll know all the actuals as opposed to, what they put in their initial application, whether they had any cost overruns or anything. This also allows us to update any sort of documentation that was filed with the state of Illinois. And it also makes it easier for me to send this to the assessor's office for when we send in all that information for the abatements in April. So if I have a stack of these next April, it'll be a lot easier for him to go, oh, okay, you know, these are what we need to file and what companies we're working with, so. Let's see after that. There is the long sheet with all the yellow bars on it. This is, we're just an FAQ for people that are planning on, you know, starting projects in the enterprise zone. You'll see it's very, very small print. The reason being is that I have designed this for, you know, mobile display. Right, everybody's usually, you know, on the road or wherever they may happen to be. It's designed to be easier to read on your phone. So this is another thing that's going to be going on the website. I'm trying to reformat it for a, you know, desktop view as well. But I figured, again, like I said earlier, with the what is exempt and what is not, I want to be able to answer as many questions without having to open my mouth as possible. So. This contributes to that effort. And, oh, okay, let's see. New project application, there should be.
Should be this one?
Yeah, okay, so that one, yeah, so that is, I guess I just double dipped on that. The BMEC application, actually that one should have been struck from this. I did make contact with the state of Illinois asking, I wanted to do the exact same thing, and they essentially said it's everything that goes on the website, on their website, the Department of Revenues, for when I am applying for these exemptions. So there's no space for any additional information outside of what they want. It's a very old website and apparently can't handle, you know, attachments or anything else. So that kind of ended up going nowhere. And then the last one is actually just an update as to every April we also get the a request from DCEO for our fee schedule for our project fees. This is just a copy showing that that has been signed and sealed and delivered to DCEO. So we are good on that, and we are also good on all the assessments. And like I said earlier, I met with Alejandro from the assessor's office, and we don't have any, you know, any problems, any discrepancies. We're completely up to date on any abatements from the enterprise zone going through since at least fiscal year 23. So, any questions?
Good job.
Good.
Lots of
Very organized.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 9, marketing discussion. I guess we kind of just had that with the logos and whether or not we want to, you know, take a look at what Alicia made. And
I'm about to email it out right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And then obviously there's more than branding. I was not at that initial meeting between the enterprise zone and all the municipalities together. My power was out that morning in a giant blizzard, so I don't really know what all that had entailed. Ed did not keep too many notes on it. I do have what he did have though, so if you did send something in the past, I do have a copy of it, just to reassure everybody. I don't know if anybody had already thought out or started planning what they wanted to do marketing-wise going forward. Obviously, as Nick said, they're going through their plan for Marengo as a whole, so you know they'll probably come up with whatever themes that they're trying to you know, attach to their objectives. Through that, so but I didn't know whether you know, Woodstock or Harvard had really you know, wanted to attach this. I know you guys had your own new branding, and whatever messaging could clearly come through that way as well. And when we do that, you know, I'm cool with that, but also at the same time, if we're going to market the enterprise zone, we want to market the enterprise zone at the same time as marketing you know, Harvard or Woodstock. So if that isn't something you guys have, you know, discussed or thought out yet, that's, you know, obviously totally fine, but we'd absolutely love to know. I've got like a notebook full of ideas that I've started putting together, so, you know, however you guys want to approach it and whatever, just, you know, feel free to let us know, or if you guys have a certain campaign that you want to start, you know, that you want us to also adopt as the enterprise zone for those purposes, then, you know, we can do that. I was looking at, I don't know if there was an enterprise zone page on LinkedIn or anything. There still seems to be a decent amount of people that run and own businesses that are on LinkedIn. I feel like having a page for that can't be a bad idea. And, you know, we could put any sort of marketing out through that as well. So
It's a good idea.
if there's any thoughts on that or any other, you know, ideas of how to market that, you know, feel free to let me know. I just got a quote the other day because I need new business cards. I was looking at potentially putting or having, instead of, you know, one half having a bunch of information, another half having a logo, having my MCEDC information on one end and potentially enterprise zone on the other. So small things like that, because then everybody that gets my card knows that we have an enterprise zone and that we're running it, so.
I do have one question. The Economic Development Corporation is are they doing the, are we bringing businesses in to train them on new marketing ideas with the ARP money?
That is on hold until the new director arrives.
Okay.
But yes, that is.
So then when the new director gets there, part of that presentation would incorporate the enterprise zone into, maybe there wouldn't be that many people that are within the enterprise zone going to those things.
I mean, it depends. So the scope of that project, obviously, and being on the county board, you've seen all the iterations that you know, come through. But that's more of you know, helping with their marketing processes as a business themselves. So unless it was a company that was, you know, in the enterprise zone and hadn't really, you know, seized advantage of it, you know, we could market it to everybody because it will all be business owners coming in. But you know,
We don't know. Are we anticipating that program to move forward, Peter, with the new director, or?
Mike has been closer to that than I, but
Okay.
I think it was really at his encouragement and consultation with Steve Ballo, the chairman, that they still want that. They still want that program, but they want to do it with the new director.
Okay.
But
So that can be a wait and see on whether the enterprise zone fits into that or not anyway, I guess. Okay.
yeah, and I figured just, you know, having any sort of enterprise zone related branding or anything that MCEDC is at, you know, just seeing a new logo, people are usually, you know, want to ask, hey, what, you know, exactly what is it? Well, if it's the enterprise zone logo, then, you know, we're passively marketing that, you know, without even really worrying about it, so.
You had something? Alicia?
Sorry, I'm sorry, Stricker's email? I'm sorry, I'm about to email out. Sorry, my computer got re-imaged and I lost a lot of the fonts for things that would normally be easy to ship out.
I'll send it to you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Other than that, I don't have anything. If there's any, you know, comments or questions or anything else, feel free. Otherwise, we can, you know, have our movement to adjourn. So.
Here we go, boom, all over there.
Well, first off, you know, this is the first meeting now that you've participated fully in, since Ed resigned. Appreciate all the hard work you've already put in.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And just overall, he referred to a meeting that was, or kind of a work session. This is kind of what Nick, myself, and Donovan were talking about is, we're all here, but what all does the EZ do? What are all the steps? What are all the forms? And again, I appreciate you putting all this together, even though you're kind of thrown into it on the fly. So, and the hope is, once we get a new director, to be more aggressive on this end of the county.
Yeah, and I actually, there's another sheet that I'll send you guys later, which is the one I used just to walk myself through all the changes I made to the budget. You know, after every single item, I'll talk about, you know, the decrease or the increase of whatever you budgeted for. you know, what percentage it was spent on the previous number, and then what the percentage is now compared to what was budgeted and what was actually spent as well. So I'll send that out, and
I think you have it here, don't
no, that was not. I don't think,
was it?
actually, yeah,
Yeah.
might have been.
Was it?
No, here, I think it's, at least I thought I
I
had.
don't know if I put that in.
Yeah, I had two.
It's right.
Oh, in the
Here
one
it is,
change
right there.
document, yeah, okay, so I have one, in color at least, that I can send to people. It's a lot easier to see my printer at home.
What
Just
changed?
Not
This is
do
the
color.
document.
Yeah, this one. And obviously then, I'll be putting in all of the changes that we anticipate to make through the contract and everything else as well, amendments to that budget, so. But yeah, and then I plan on making these available to everybody, I guess, just on request. I don't really have like a file sharing anything right now. I could put up a Google Docs link or something if that works best for
Well, it's
people.
gonna be on the website.
That's true, yeah, so.
You don't really need to do that.
So we can link directly to some of these forms from our website then?
Yeah, because I mean, I
Replace some of the
know,
older
yeah, you
forms.
guys will, you know, enterprise zone section on
Yeah.
the Woodstock website, yeah, so.
And I think it would be great to have a logo for enterprise zone, because, you know, that would just be like a visual instead of just a link and a bunch of text about it.
Yeah.
Just make it
You
pop
mean
out a
like
little bit
something like
more.
that?
Yeah.
Because that's literally the shared brand right there. I mean, you could have that or otherwise, but again, that's what the McHenry brand is, you know, it goes with the naturally brand and you just put it underneath. So, I mean, again, that's, you know, that was the original.
And thanks again for all the hard work.
Yeah, hey, no problem, no problem. I do have 2 checks that need to be signed, so. Always fun.
Well, I'll be here for Ed to sign that. If anybody else have any other comments, please, gripes, jokes, nothing?
I just wanna echo what Lou was saying too, James. We really do appreciate your hard work. You probably know there's a lot going on, so we appreciate you putting some effort in for the enterprise zone. It doesn't go unnoticed, so thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Brian seconds.